your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, good to say I doubt it will stand up to something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Hello. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, all the places where you can hear fine podcasts such as this one. Guys, I got a bunch of comedy shows coming up. I'm so excited. The Grift Tour has been a success so far, but I got more dates coming up. We just had 2 shows at the Grizzly Pear, packed shows at the Grizzly Pear this past Saturday. So much fun. Gina Bisconti hosted, Keanu Thompson, Gina Hyena, Andrew Harms all did spots. It was like a little compound media family show. So much fun. But I got Staten Island coming up on Friday, April 7th. I'll be at the Reef at Paradise Island. I know, sounds very tropical, but this is Staten Island, so keep that in mind. Then that following Saturday, April 8th, I'll be at Tiff's in Morris Plains, New Jersey. Then I'm heading to Las Vegas. I'll be at the Space in Las Vegas on, I think it's Thursday, April 27th. This is the day after the Geeks and Gamers Friday Night Tights meetup. That meetup will be the 26th at the Millennium Fandom Bar in Vegas. Then we got my comedy show the following day, Thursday, 27th at the Space. Tickets are flying for this show. They may add a late one. They may not. So get your tickets now if you haven't already. Lila Hart will be opening for me in Vegas. Then we're heading to Dallas. I'll be doing 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, May 5th and 6th at Hyenas in Dallas. I'll be making appearances at the Blaze a few days during that week. Lila Hart will also be at these Dallas shows. Then I'm heading to Richmond, Virginia, August 9th. That's a Wednesday show at the Sandman Comedy Club. Then I'll be heading to Anime Matsuri in Houston, Texas. Simpcast will be at the convention. We'll have a booth and a panel. We got to figure out who's doing that. Then I'm headlining that same weekend at the Secret Group in Houston, Texas. On that Friday, August 11th. So come on out. If you know you're going to be at the convention, get your tickets now. Don't wait, because you don't want to be left without plans. You don't want to be that loser at the convention with nothing fun to do after the convention's over. You know, take your new toys and bring them to the comedy club. Wear your costumes. I don't know. Just, get weird with us. Anyway, speaking of getting weird, I'm so excited to bring on this next guest. She is the host of Radio Gunk. This is going to be an easy lifting show because she's great. This gal can talk. She knows what's up. She's up with what's down. Welcome, Monique. Hello. You are the doyen.
You're the cutest. You are the cutest.
Doyen of detritus. Is detritus like something that whales eat? Is it like baleen?
Detritus and congratulations for pronouncing it correctly, because that's exactly how you say it. It's garbage. It's it's waste product. So wow. I am the queen of waste product, which is the Howard Stern show.
Waste product. But Howard Stern used to be so cool and fun, Monique.
It's been years, so you tell me when, and we'll harken back to that, because I don't know. And before we came on, we were just talking about how shows like this are such easy lifting, because when I usually have the 3 guys on, it's like I'm working the comments and I'm working the clips and I'm working the pictures that we put up and then connecting to everything. And it's so hard to even pay attention to your own show when you're doing that.
It is hard. And then there are some shows that are it's great when you get super chats, but sometimes the super chats then take over the whole show and you're like, well, I want to read these. I want to,
notice them
and you want people to feel ignored, but then you're like, oh, the whole show is answering comments. So it's a balance you got to do. And some folks do super chat wrap up shows. Gary from FNT will do that. So I got to get better at that. But yeah, it's very easy. So when you say the 3 guys, you mean your normal,
my normal crew of
co-hosts.
miscreants. Yeah. And they all talk over each other. I've tried to rein them in a million times. It's just never going to work, so I've just given up on it. And, we still do the show just for fun. If I was actually being paid, I would be a twat about it and make sure that, they pulled themselves together, but I don't have to, so I don't care.
I love the white Shure mic. Like that seems very bougie, very feminine energy.
It's kind of bougie, isn't it? I know.
Fancy.
I was on with Carl on these podcasts, and I saw that he had a Shure, and here I was rocking like this piece of shit F-Fine mic, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, I can afford to get a really, really good mic. So I saw this limited edition Shure, and I figured I'd be all over it. It works.
It's so fancy. I've never seen anybody else with one like that. And good for you, because you're having a realization that, someone like a Greg Opie Hughes does not have when you're like, oh, wait, I have the money. Why don't I just buy professional equipment as I am a professional broadcaster? He's definitely got his fans, but I feel embarrassed for him. I'm like, how is he not? It's like a little bit of an investment up front, but then you don't have to think about it ever again. Like, just get the good equipment and then
you're fine. I am on week 397 of him inviting me onto his show so that we can have a discussion.
Really?
Oh my God. He, as is typical with anybody who has ever been associated with the Stern Show or the vortex that is the Stern Show, is everybody is so thin-skinned, and all they need is one comment from one troll saying, oh, Monique talked bad about you, and she's giving you shit online, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, obviously I can't come on. Same thing with Artie Lang, honestly. So many people are like, oh, we can't come on your show. You talk shit. It's like, did you hear me? Did you actually hear what I said? Did you actually hear any of the commentary to know exactly what I was saying? Odds are no, they don't, A
lot of folks, they hear a name and they go, oh, you're
Yep.
talking shit. The name was mentioned. Someone brought it up. So shit talking was had.
Yeah, I have to tell you, you are like my spirit animal of being able to be a woman who does this, not your comedy, because I would never have the balls to do that, but this whole thing that you do and the amount of misogyny that goes on with being a woman running a show is just shocking to me.
It's hard to know. Thank you. It's funny because we always focus on like the few troll negative comments other than like the overwhelming positive ones because I'm trying to do less of that. But like one troll on Twitter was like, I don't understand all the hype with this Chrissie Mayr. All she does is host Zoom meetings. She has no background in comedy. I was like, yes, Zoom meetings. That's what this is.
That's who I am.
What I should have responded was not at all. I should have said nothing. But I was like, oh, I've done stand-up for 13 years. I've done a one-woman show. I'm like, I don't have to say any of this. Like, what am I doing? Why am I triggered? Like, just stop.
Yes, you're triggered because you know what? That's what they do. The whole point is to notice me and make sure that you say something to me. That's all they care about. Mm-hmm. I get them constantly in the chat. Constantly. It drives me insane. I hate them.
Sometimes, thank you for that lovely compliment. And I've heard people say similar, like, oh, it must be so hard being like a woman in comedy. And it's a very common conversation had, especially among like female comics. But I've noticed the more successful I get, the less I hang out with female comics, generally in a huge group. Like you find your tribe and like you find the people that have a close sense of humor with me, which at first was all the guys on Compound Media. And now eventually over time, like I have my girlfriends like Lila Hart out in Texas who will open for me. Keanu Thompson, super funny. Like you find your girls, but it's weird. Like I've had girls that were openers for me that stopped answering my texts, stopped, volunteering for going on
Why?
the road, like stopped
Why?
wanting to do gigs with me. And then you hear it's like, oh yeah, she actually doesn't want to associate with you and or compound media anymore just because of like whatever they read or hear. And it's interesting because I'm like, okay, fine. I'll be like, go live your life. But then I watch that person. It's not like they explode and do way better. It's usually the other way around. It's like, oh, you left doing gigs with me to like
To do
stay
what?
at the same level. To do what?
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of women comedians, like I'm not a big fan of female comedians at all because I feel like so many of them, and not you actually, but so many of them fall into that same ball of discussion. Like there's no getting out of it because it's like a constant proving yourself to men because that's who 90% of the audience is. That's who's going to follow you. Those are the ones who want to see your tits. These are the ones who, want to know that you're a lesbian. I mean, this is what they want to know. And there's a pure need to know who you are just because you're a woman and not because you're funny. So a lot of women fall into that shit.
It's hard to know if the hardships you face are woman based or are misogyny based or just that person's an asshole, you weren't funny enough or whatever. They're comparing you because I have to keep in mind like a lot of the fans that I were exposed to early on, like with the compound media world, like, okay, they're comparing me to Anthony Cumia, to Jim Norton, to like all those guys, Voss. It's like, I'm not trying to compete with any of those people. So it's like, if you don't think I'm as funny as them, great, fine. Tons of people like would agree with you. But it's just
but you're
over
in a guy's
time,
world and you're like more of a guy's comedian than you are a girl's
I think
comedian.
so. I think my sense of humor is more on the male side of things, where because like I'm not afraid to be kind of racist, kind of misogynist. I'm not afraid to be bluntly honest. And that's what drew me to stand up. It was I felt very much growing up that I couldn't really express myself. We were constantly tiptoeing around everybody else in the family. My dad drank a lot. He had a temper. You know, it was all talking to other people about somebody else you had a problem with. No one in my family was ever direct. And I grew up feeling, oh, I'm afraid to hurt somebody's feelings with the truth. So then I have stand up and I go, oh, wow, like I can say whatever the fuck I want. There's zero consequences.
Right.
I'm not going to hurt anyone's feelings. This is great. This is my outlet. So
how'd you wind up, and I feel like I'm interviewing you, but how did you?
Now the tables have turned.
So how did you feel like not really when you first got into comedy, but when you finally started to hit, and when you finally started to hit your stride, was it because you finally figured out what the science was behind how you did your comedy, like how you were portraying women in comedy? Like, what do you think it was?
I think my success has everything to do with how hard I was working and the transition from working smarter to what I thought. When you come up in comedy, especially in New York City, your idea of working harder is just like, oh, I've got to hit 5 mics in a night. I've got to hang out at this or that, this show at Union Hall in Brooklyn, right. Or I've got to hang out at the Knitting Factory. Oh, I've got to like get to know who books Conan or who books Colbert or who books JFL. Like for years, I was sending 10-minute clips to the JFL guy, only to realize he was in very tight with the woman who books The Creek and the Cave, who hates me from years back because I dated the guy that she liked after she and him broke up. So then you're like, oh, okay, it has nothing to do with my fucking clips or how funny, or it could be I just wasn't funny enough. But you start putting two together, and it is a small world, and you're going to hit roadblocks. People are going to like you for petty, bullshitty high school reasons. And you just have, and it's not fair. And you just have to get over that. And that is what's been so great about the internet and being able to create your own fan base. And I did kind of branch out into podcasting, and I found the people I like to collaborate with and my fans more so outside of the New York City I guess, community.
Insulated community that it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I found my compound media people, and that's when I was like, oh, I love podcasting. I love the sense of humor of everybody on the network. I felt like I could be myself finally. And I went through a period of like kind of multiple cancellations from what looked like from the public as I was a left-wing Democrat, ran a show at the Stonewall Inn, to now same person, same sense of humor. Yeah, I am having a little bit of a political awakening, but I'm now seen as uber right wing, compound media, out Trump voter. And then I'm at January 6th just in like a couple of years. So I go, but like, even though before I was growing and like figuring out who I was, I still was like this Democrat, liberal, like living in Brooklyn, open micer girl, hated her dad. Like I had everything going for me, feminist. It was getting me like nowhere because I wasn't working. I don't think I was working very hard. And I had no sense of like direction, and maybe I hadn't found my voice yet. I think I felt like I had to be like all the other women around me. I think I had to be like, oh, I guess I got to lean into this like liberal point of view. I guess I have to. I mean, I have great jokes about my vagina. I have great jokes about Brazilian waxing, but I did feel like, okay, everyone's talking about how much they hate men. And I was coming out of 4 years of college, like literally indoctrination camp, women's studies minor.
Oh my God.
Kinetic. Well, I'm just like, okay, I came out like I was more equipped to blow up and get famous in comedy right when I graduated college, because I fit the bill more. I was like feminist and I was saying and doing all the right things, and I felt like as I sort of grew up and found myself and figured out how I really feel about free speech and the media and my creative process and the kind of jokes I want to make. Okay, I faced way more cancellation, but there's no like lie to keep up. There's like, oh, okay,
yourself.
this is
Guess
what, stand up is fucking hard. Guess what? It's hard to pursue your dreams, but it's hard not to. So in life, you have to choose your hard. Like that's why I have little patience for people who complain. I mean, we all complain, but
we all complain. And I'm the exact opposite of you. Yeah. I grew up hardline Republican, like just ridiculously, my family were all Republican. And, I remember and I was so excited to be able to vote when I turned 18, like nothing made me happier. My parents set me down and said, okay, so here's the difference between the two parties. Here's what they stand for. And it's like, I want to stand for the people that are wealthy and rich and, and it's kind of like this whole, you project what you want to be. So I want to be that person so that I too will, when I grow up, become a wealthy, and it's so weird as I slowly really went to the middle. Like, I don't give a fuck about tree hugging, save the, like it's so hard to define yourself other than being completely all the way on one side or all the way on the other side. Why can't I just really fucking care about the fact that government spends way too much fucking money and people really should have their tubes tied after 2 fucking children if you're on welfare and all these stupid
That's very
things.
Generous of you.
I'm giving you 2, but you know what I mean? Like
Wow.
There's so many things that I think could be changed to make everybody feel like we are the same. And I'm down here in Florida. I have a wide array of friends who are on both sides of the spectrum, and you know what? We just don't talk about it. And we just kind of go on with our lives as if it was 6 years ago. But, before 7 years ago, before we all started to just kind of separate out into these tribes. And I kind of hate that. I kind of hate it. I hate that we're like this.
Well, there's everything in our culture is facilitating this separation and this division. It's like, what are we? Okay, we're constantly feeling like we got to pick our teams. Like, but for what?
Why?
Like,
why?
That's like, we should just be looking to everyone needs to realize like we're all more alike than we are different. And like the government is the enemy. The government's like blowing our money. The government would rather give Ukraine billions of dollars than acknowledge East Palestine or any of the other problems. So it's hard to take them seriously.
And then you go back to the billions that we gave to Palestine and they ran away with the money. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many different, they have always just thrown money at shit and hope that we come out of it on the other side okay. Because they don't give a fuck about me and you. They don't care. You know, big government will always be big government. It's never going anywhere. We could spend trillions of dollars, and it's all corporate welfare. And yes, we'll build more bombs, we'll build more planes, but it feeds and hires millions of people. So yeah, that's our way of being able to maintain our status quo in the country, in the world. So yeah, it's just a weird thing.
That's interesting that you looked at kind of Republicans or conservatives are like, you know, growing up your idea of what like rich people are, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to be like that. Whereas I had the opposite feeling growing up. I'm like, oh, those guys are horrible. I want to help the homeless. I remember being in like coming home from college on spring break or whatever, and I'd get into like screaming fights with my dad about helping the homeless, and like I was an college student. Why are we not protesting? Like I went to one protest and I thought I was saving the world. And honestly, I was an idiot, but like me and my dad just like have always fought, like because I remind him of mom. It's like I look like her, I sound like her. Okay, makes sense. Like even she's been dead a few years, like I still trigger him big time about really any serious conversation ends up in a screaming match. So we have to keep it like surfacey. But the point is, I was like, yeah, I want to be the opposite of that. I want to help people. And then you're like, oh no, wait. And then you grow up even more. You're like, no, it's your job to help yourself. Yes. And everyone's got issues and roadblocks and shit to get over from your family, or everyone's got trauma to get over. So,
oh my God, I got deleted one time on Twitter because there was this video of, I guess it was in New York. Maybe it wasn't. No, it had to be in New York, where they decided to blow up all of those fucking kids that come from uptown with their motorcycles, and you've heard them, you've seen them, you know, at 2:00 in the morning, zooming through like 8th Avenue and stuff like that. So they
I used to hear them in Queens when I lived in Astoria in the middle of the night. Like I would be like, oh God, and I'd be like, it's just motorcycles ripping through.
Yes, or like the tri-quads or the ATVs, whatever it is, and they took them all and they steamrollered them. And I'm like, good, we should be doing this more. And people are like, oh, you're so selfish. You know, those could be given away to, it's like, to who? Who are we giving them to? So somebody could steal them back and start it all over again? Yeah, the homeless need bicycles.
You need to wake someone up who's ODing and be like, here, you want this motorcycle? And they'll just tip it over and turn it into a fort. Like, oh, can I shit into it? Great.
Hold on, let me spin the wheel now, and I can make a little fucking shit fan for you.
Oh, how much can I sell this for drug money? Awesome. Thank you.
Exactly. I mean, you know what? If you're homeless and you are seriously homeless, like you seriously were kicked out of your house, you can't afford the rent anymore. You basically work. I am so supportive of trying to find you somewhere else to live. 1000%. In New York, it almost doesn't happen because there's nowhere to live now. There really isn't. You know, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. The illegals
have taken up all the nice hotel space.
So, you know what? Can I just tell you something? I have friends in the hotel industry, and a lot of them are taking up SROs, single room occupancies, which a lot of hotel owners own a bunch of, and they are getting paid.
What does that mean? That the hotel owner owns a bunch of rooms within the hotel?
Single room occupancy. So what happens is they'll buy SROs, which are usually buildings that you would walk past and never even notice again. Old brick buildings on like the, you know, Upper West Side or something like that, or the high West Side. And those are SROs where they rent them out to homeless and indigent people, usually shared bathrooms and stuff like that. And a lot of times they had converted them over to hotels because that's what you can do. You can convert an SRO to a hotel. So, but the ones that maintain themselves as SROs, especially during COVID, was a boon for them. They were getting paid thousands of dollars a week to home these people because there's nowhere else to put them. Nowhere. Now, do you want to take them, put them on a bus and ship them all off to like Wisconsin or to Wyoming? I'm happy with that. I build a commune.
Martha's Vineyard. That was fun. That was a blast.
That was a ridiculous show of silliness. It's never, you know, all anybody's going to do is give them some food and hope that they can find their family and put them somewhere else.
Food, a nice cardigan, and send them on their way.
Okay, just go on your way. Get an Obama phone and just be on your way. I don't even care. Yeah, that's right. Your neighbor is hypocheric. That's what Gina Bobina says. True. So he lives in an SRO, you know, which the government pays for. The government pays for him to get like stomach surgery. Government paid for like 2 back surgeries that he just had.
Wow.
And he's like a blight on the system. He is exactly what I cannot stand in terms of like how our government is run. Okay, I'm done with that.
No, it's okay. It's all good. I realized I was like, oh, that's the official moment I realized I'm old when I literally started a sentence with the illegals. I was like, it's happening.
My only problem with the illegal thing, honestly, is that there's nobody in this country, nobody that wants to pick watermelons or lettuce or tomatoes or pluck
Or
chickens.
cotton.
Or anything, pluck chickens. We need chickens.
Right.
Like nobody wants to do this shit. Nobody.
We're
Certainly
saying
no American.
it sounds like we need to bring back slavery.
I kind of think in a way, except you can't call it that. You
No, when I was last in New Orleans for gigs, I took a little tour of the Garden District by myself because I was like, let's see the sights, like instead
What
of just
sights?
Bourbon Street and people puking like into their purses. I took a tour and it was so funny because it was like these two women that are like best friends. I forget what they were called, like the two Debs or whatever. There's only one Deb giving the tour, but she's like this very sweet lady, and she's giving us the tour. It's like a walking tour, and it's like these houses which had built-in slave quarters. And she was saying you can tell it's a house that used to have slaves living there if there's like a back kind of narrow, almost like hallway looking,
Like a
but it's part of
corridor?
the building. Yeah, it's a corridor shaped, but it's like just a narrow part of the building that goes a little, almost like 5 windows worth. And it's like, I'm describing it so poorly, but she's like, that's how you can tell. And she's like, well, we can't really call them slaves. Like we have to call them, like she's trying to make it sound PC. Like, oh, we have to call them, like people of enslavement. Or I'm like, and then I like raised my hand. I was like, oh, I mean, are we calling them like, freedom deprived or something like that? I was like, are we calling them like freedom handicapped or and then she's describing, I'm like, she's like, they'd work certain hours, but they would stay here and they would eat at whatever times. I'm like, wait, you're telling me they had like guaranteed activities during the day, like guaranteed work, guaranteed housing. They were fed. I'm like, this sounds better than like my early 20s, to be honest. Like they didn't have to sweat. How am I going to make rent every month? They weren't like, I can't cook. When's my next meal? Like, how am I going to afford food? Utilities? Like they didn't. I feel like the slaves had it better than me in my early 20s.
You're looking at the positives. I'm looking at their. You're looking at it through rose-colored glasses there, Chrissie. I'm looking at
it sounded not bad.
I'm looking at the half-white babies, that are the product of raping 13-year-olds and the welts on their backs from being whipped because they're not working fast enough. So yeah, I mean,
I had a boss with a lot of passive aggressive comments. That's pretty bad too. Where's the expense report? Oh no, I'm just kidding. But it was fun. How did we get on this?
I have no
slavery,
idea.
Bringing back just call them interns.
So you're going to see like through the comments where people are saying 17% offended or 17% limbo. Okay, that's because I did my 23andMe years ago. And
why would you give them your DNA?
Oh, who gives a shit? You know what? They have everything about me as it is. Honestly, at this point, I don't care. I don't care who has my information. I am pretty positive anything they wanted to do, they have built into my iPhone already. Like seriously, without us even knowing. So anyway, I wound up being 17% sub-Saharan African. And I said, Mommy,
wow,
did you know that I was 17%? Like, and she's like, oh yeah, that's your grandfather, who I never met. She's like, that's your grandfather. He was very, very dark. He came from the Canary Islands. I'm like, does that actually mean I can use the N-word? Like the hard
yes,
R?
It does.
Like the hard R? And I think that my percentage is just slightly lower than the accepted. And I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. So, they constantly are saying she's 17%. So all I've got is that I can tan well and I know how to cook. Those are pretty much my two, superpowers. But
Look at that. You're ready for a rap career, I think.
Imagine my surprise when I found out that I was that much sub-Saharan African.
I think I don't want to pop the bubble of what I think I am ethnically. So, yeah.
Yeah, you want to when you pop that cherry, it's all over. Honestly, it's really
yeah.
over.
I just don't want to darken or dampen my view of my ethnicity. I know my dad is off the boat German. And I know that my mom's side is Norwegian. And yeah, I think
That's all you got.
my grandmother, my grandmother on my mom's side, I think, was born in this country. So I'm more German than Norwegian.
But both of your parents were born here.
Yeah. Well, my dad was born in Germany and
Oh,
my mom was
interesting.
born here. But my grandmother on my mom's side, I think, was also born in this country. So
Do you know how many German people actually find out that they're German Jews and never knew it because their parents or their grandparents or their
that's what I don't
great-grandparents
want.
hid their, changed their names completely so that it would be something that was more anglicized so that they would never have that issue.
Ooh, that's funny because my last name's Mayr, obviously, and it's a German spelling. I guess when I was told that when people came through Ellis Island, they would add in an e, it'd be Mayer, and that
Yeah.
was so that you could assimilate.
Meyer,
wasn't so ethnic
Meyerson,
looking.
yeah, all that stuff. Oh, see, it might be a little more to you yet, sister.
But we didn't add the e. They didn't fall for it. I don't know. Who knows? How do you believe anybody?
I don't. Anyway, anywho, so
Imagine I'm really a Meyerowitz or Meyerberg.
You know what? How delicious would that be? You would have to embrace it. You'd have no choice. You could
feel
get a
like-
bat mitzvah. You make money.
Yeah,
Be
I'd have
amazing.
to start telling people in Hollywood, like, look, I'm one of you guys.
Exactly.
throw
I'm
me
part
a
of the
bone.
I am part of the tribe now. I am you.
Yeah.
You can get married with a chuppah and have people put you on a chair and dance around.
I want a chuppah. Wow. Were you always a Howard Stern fan?
So kind of, yes. I think, I grew up in New York, born and raised, and
Where? Long Island?
no, I lived in Manhattan until I was 12. Then we moved to Brooklyn. Then I went to school in the city and moved back out when I was like 22, 23. And that's it. I just actually gave up my apartment in the city last year, May, which is, it broke my heart though. But to be honest with you, 3 years of not being there and paying an exorbitant amount of money for I could count on one hand how many times I had been there. It was a complete and utter waste of money. And I hated what was happening in the city. I just hated how I felt there. And I felt, it just wasn't fun. I mean, I look forward to going to visit. And I'm really okay not living there right now. So yeah. So I've always been a city girl.
New York City, it'll come back maybe eventually, but it's peaked. It's like the fat girl from high school right now. You're like, all right, you had your time, but now you're fat.
Now you're just fat, right?
You got to give some other cities a chance.
I think
get
that
all the attention.
I feel bad. I feel like commercial real estate is horrible, and the whole work ethic is down. But I my family owns an apartment building in Brooklyn, and so I know what it's like for people to not pay for 2.5 years their rent, and then
Wow, the
all
balls.
of a sudden,
I would never have the balls to just not.
but they
pay
didn't give a
rent.
shit. But then meanwhile, they're
The confidence you need to pull that off.
That's why so many
kind of
people were
jealous.
able to move, because all of a sudden they had $60,000-$70,000 that they wouldn't have otherwise had, which was completely absolved by the government, by the way. And
Wow.
then
So you
they
could
were able to
not
move.
pay rent for 2 years, take that money you saved, and go buy a house in
Omaha.
somewhere else in the country. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what people did. And since they're working remotely, they didn't give a shit where they were working from. So yeah. So back to your question, yes, I've always been a Stern fan, and then there just came a time I started, I had never really been online, like forums and stuff like that. And I found this one called The Dog Shed where everybody was kind of like a Howard hater. And I'm like, oh my God, I can really get into the hate. I can embrace the hate. I can do this. And I loved doing that. And I designed clothing for a living. So I was design director. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yes. So I did swimwear and outerwear for the largest children's wear company in America. And I traveled constantly. I have seen the world. I've been everywhere, but I can probably count on one hand where I haven't been. I used to travel to China constantly. I've just traveled the world. And I would have down
you're patient
seasons.
zero.
Oh my God. I came back one time from Shanghai with H1N1. And I have never been sicker in my life, ever. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. In bed,
That was swine flu?
it was avian flu. Yeah, swine flu, bird flu. And I was down
Stay
for
away
about
from those birds.
I was down for about 3.5 weeks of not being able to do anything. I had to get rehydrated in the hospital. It was horrible, horrible. And they had no idea what it was until maybe like the last week, and then figured it out. And somebody finally asked me, "Where have you been in the last month?" I'm like, "I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Hong Kong, and I've been to Manila." And it's like, "Oh, okay, well, let's test you for this." And it was bad. So when I got COVID, it was like nothing. It was like a piece of cake. It's like, bring it on. I'm good. I'm good with this.
Oh, I was curing myself with tea and honey. I was not even going to get a test until I gave it to my fiance, and he had it worse. And he was like, "I'm going to go get tested." I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll come with you because I've had a headache for 3 days, and that's weird." But I was about to be over. Like, I was positive, and then 5 days later, I tested again, and I was negative. So I was
never
like,
got tested. Never got tested until the moment I felt sick. Like I had in 2.5 years, I had never been tested once because I've avoided people. I mean, yeah, I'll talk to you and listen, I'm in Florida, so we've always been open. So it's not been a big deal to go out to dinners, to socialize with people, stuff like that. But, with my mother, who's in her late 70s, of course I protected myself. I never want to be accused of being the one to kill my mother. Although there's been times where I'm like really okay with that, but it's just not, that's just the kind of how I rolled it. So anyway, so I would have like down seasons because my business was very seasonal, and I had known about podcasts. When I started doing the podcast, nobody knew what a podcast was. I've been doing this almost 7 years now. And I decided, yeah, let's do it. Let's do something fun on Howard Stern. And that's how it kind of started. And he blocked me. Everybody from the show has me on block.
wow.
They took down
You ever
my
met
first.
anybody?
I know pretty much all of them at this point. I've met most of them. And yeah, I mean, they'll tell me stuff which I can't ever go on air with. And, we talk about like silly, stupid things that have gone on the show. But honestly, I'm kind of over it because he's so boring these days that it takes a lot to do a show on him and make it interesting. It really does. It's
Do you
hard.
think it was him making more money that changed him, like a fear of cancellation, or do you think he genuinely grew into this person?
It's the stupid money. It's the stupid money and his inability when he was younger, and by younger I mean in his 40s, that he was never the guy who sat at the cool kids table. So all of a sudden when Jimmy Kimmel introduces him to like Jennifer Aniston and all these other fucking idiots, all of a sudden they're important to him, and what they say is meaningful to him. And so he wants to be a better person, and he also wants his legacy to not be, smacking baloney on girls' asses and painting their tits with shamrocks. He wants it to be about being a great interviewer. And, most people, if you say it enough times, it becomes true. It's magical thinking on his part that he's a great interviewer. But the reality is he's horrible at it. He really is.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Why is he horrible at it?
He asks the same questions constantly. He projects his psychosis and his psychological fuck-ups on everybody else. Everybody has problems with their parents. Everything that everybody is a direct correlation to how bad their relationship was with their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, their lover, their wife, so.
And that's how he thinks.
That's how he thinks.
That's very therapist-y. I wonder if he's someone who has seen a therapist for so long. That
you're so cute. Are you kidding? One. That's all he ever talks about is how he lives for that. He lives for the importance of his shrink in his life. And it's Jungian psychotherapy, I think. So it's long-term kind of really deep dive into how your parents messed you up kind of thing.
Which probably there's truth there, but like how depressing. And now that when you phrase it like that sounds like something you can't ever get over. You have to constantly obsess about. Exactly. Everyone's just doing, and it's like, yeah, I definitely had time where I was like really hard on my dad and both parents, and you learn, okay, wow, all right. But at the end of the day, they're just doing the best job they can at the time with the information they're given and dealing with whatever issues they have from their parents.
Absolutely.
And you got to just like let it go. You got to fucking let it go.
They're the only ones you will ever have. And so you have to accept them for what they are. And it took me a long time to get there. A long time to accept my parents. and I was such a daddy's girl. And when he passed away, my mother was just horrible to me, it's your your father told me that you would abandon me when he died. I'm like, no, he didn't, Mommy. No, he didn't. He would never say that. He would never, ever say that.
Just like manipulation. It's like people are trying to get what they want, and if they don't themselves either go to therapy for a little bit or like examine themselves, like you're just going to be in the same old patterns. Like my mom was very manipulative emotionally that way too, but only because she didn't know how to get what she wanted, and she wasn't getting what she needed from my dad. They had horrible communication, and they were very passive aggressive to each other, which is great for like building a sense of humor growing up. It makes you great and quick at roasting people, but it's a horrible example of how to have a marriage and how to deal with the opposite sex.
But you don't see that as a kid. You don't see that. And did I see my parents fighting? Sure. Did you sit in a corner and say, oh my God, I hate them both so much. I can't wait to get the hell out of this house. Like, there's a genuine dislike for them. I always tell people I save hate for my family because, I can't hate on people I don't know. I can only hate on people that I know. And I know those animals. And so it's really easy to hate on them. And it's like people always ask me, don't you hate Howard? Don't you hate? And it's like, no, I don't hate him. I don't know him. Like, how can I hate somebody I don't know? Unless I know you personally and you've been an absolute douchebag to me, then I can hate on you. Stuttering John, do I hate him? I can't stand him. I absolutely detest him. But it's only because, he decided to troll me after, we broke up. After we broke up our friendship.
Were you ever cool with StutJo?
I was, when you became the patron saint of dabbling, which I find amazing. And I love the fact that you have not embraced the Dabbleverse as part of your personality. I just adore that about you.
I love the Dabbleverse. I feel intimidated by Discord and Reddit, and I just don't, they're not places I often think to go. It's not that I dislike the people. I loved going to DabbleCon. I love Carl. I had so much fun with all those guys, but I'm always thinking about like stand up and who I'm going to interview next. And I forget kind of to.
But you didn't jump on that bandwagon of being, this is what my podcast is going to be about. This is what's going to define me. And you of all people could have certainly have done it yourself. That could have been your embrace. I look at Hack Shuli and I constantly think to myself, oh, he's just riding on Carl's coattails. And then there's this steel toe and then there's this someone else. And, somebody always comes out of the woodwork to bash John. And it's like, at what point is there not enough information to go around to everybody? Like, he did the smartest thing he could possibly do, which was to tap out. And
do you think he's done?
I kind of think he might be. And,
is it our fault?
Yes.
Did we do this? Oh boy. Well,
but I think he, like I said to him so many times, embrace the dabblers, it'd be fun. Be part of who they are. Embrace who they are. And it will make you, if you diffuse the trolls, it makes them better. And, some, and he couldn't do it. He just didn't understand that was the right move. So he continued to torture himself, but when a show becomes about how much dirt he has under his fingernails or what his bathroom floor looks like, it's time to move on a little bit. I feel like it's time.
Wow.
I starved them out.
Genuinely feel bad for Stuttering John. I think that's why I never found it interesting for me personally to like pursue a lot of like making fun of him on my own. Like I would do it like if it was a segment I was doing Carl's show or like whoever, like sure, just like any other lol cow, like Chad Zumach or Opie or like okay. Right. But I just was like, I genuinely feel bad for all those dudes, and I kind of just like observe them and I try to think like what's going on psychologically, like right with John. I think people were able to sniff out like, okay, if you pretend you're not a substitute teacher, they're going to go harder on that. If you pretend that you're doing really well, people are going to go, it's better to just like be honest, and then you have nothing to hide. Don't try to act like you're better than where you're at.
When we had that last conversation where I interviewed him about, being an Uber driver, working in the school, what he's doing with himself, blah, 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 blah. His constant reply to me was like, that won't do. And I'm like, dude, you kind of knew what questions I was going to be asking you today. Like, this wasn't really a surprise. This has been such a big part of what people are talking about these days. So how do you not embrace it and just own it? Like, own who you are. You know, I feel like I've never not been who I am, ever. You know, I am this person. Take me or love me or hate me. I don't give a shit. But if you don't embrace, you know, who you are, yeah, okay, so you needed the money. So you started working as a substitute teacher. Okay. So do it.
I don't think anyone was thinking you were making your whole living off of super chats. Like, and that's respectable. I've never pretended that I've literally only not had a day job from December of 2021 on because I got fired because I wouldn't get vaccinated. But I've always been out about working 1-2 day jobs at all times until very recently, because you live in the real world. You know that you have to, I would work just to have health insurance because I'd be like, oh, and then I was lucky enough that I was able to substitute podcasting for my day job. But it makes me so grateful because I know, like, you're so close. I'm, all this could go away tomorrow and I have to go find another office job. Cool. But I've done that and I know what that's like. And I actually have built up like a decent real person resume from working for 15 whatever years.
Right. But what has
regular job to regular job?
What has he ever done other than be that person? What has he done other than work at Howard, work with Jay Leno, and then try and do this, you know? And when you go into doing this whole stupid shit that we do, when you go into doing it, you can't hang your hat on it and say, okay, this is how I'm going to make money, because it doesn't happen that way. It either is organic and you make it work. I mean, you work harder than anyone. You're constantly doing something. You're doing a show, you're doing a podcast, you're doing all sorts of shit. And I totally give you, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked to join a podcast group or a network or something, to do it legit, and do this whole thing. But I never wanted to have to do it. I want to do it, but I never wanted to have to do it. And I think that makes the difference with how, I either interact with like the people that chat or comment or whatever, because I don't, yes, I love it when I get super chats and I love it when people, but I don't have a Patreon. I don't have anything where we say to please donate. I never even mention, do super chats for us tonight or any ever. Instead it's like, thank you for the super chats. It enabled me to buy my brand new Shure microphone. It enabled me to be better for you guys. I know. Don't you love it? It's very phallic.
I really love it. I've been looking at on Amazon. They actually have like sparkly wraps that you can wrap. I don't know if it's supposed to be meant to go with the Shure, but you can make, I've been really debating the idea of making my microphones like sparkly, like black sparkles or whatever. They have all the different colors.
You should absolutely do that.
I don't want to trash it up either. Like, as a little girl, I was known to put stickers on all the nice things I had, which trashed them up right away. So I'm fighting that urge, I think.
Oh, I was half a lesbian. I cut all the fucking hair off my Barbies. I ripped their arms off. I ripped their arms off. Like, I played with cars and trucks and stuff like that. I was that kid. I still have my Barbie dolls from when I'm like 6 and 7 years old. And
I wish
most
I had
of them,
mine.
Oh my God, I have the whole box, the Barbie box with all of their clothes from like the 70s and some. I have G.I. Joes with Kung Fu grip because Ken was so gay. There was no way that my girls.
Gay.
Ken was gay.
Ken was too manicured. He was too polished.
A little prissy.
Ken, it was not good in bed, I feel like.
Ken
Ken would never sort of choke you. Ken was not going to like, say mean things to you in bed. Ken is like fixing his hair. Ken is the type of guy where like he'll look in the mirror while he's having sex with you. He'll be like, yeah.
Ken absolutely had micro penis. Ken absolutely would text you the next day to make sure everything's okay. Ken's going to go get you coffee in the morning and you're just going to hate him for it. Like
Ken is going to low key use your hair products without telling. It's no.
Ken is going to be in the bathroom, like on the toilet, like snipping his like pubes, like manicuring himself.
Yeah.
In the bathroom. Yeah, that's Ken. That's
not
Ken.
A real man.
G.I. Joe, on the other hand, his beard still smells like pizza from last night. He's got like he's
real man.
He's got total bush from like neck.
He's got fast food bags in the back of his car.
His whole car smells like French fry.
Yeah, there's French fries in between the seats, like a real man.
That's exactly right. That kung fu grip comes in handy. You know
But I
that.
feel like G.I. Joe was not as tall as Barbie. Like they were never going to line up, right? Did they ever
Oh
make
no
a
no
G.I.
no no! GI Joe with Kung Fu Grip had like had knees and elbows that articulated. He had like a little fuzz beard
Ooh.
and mustache and like
Okay.
a slight fro. And one of the ones I had was a slight ginger, and the other one was dark haired. And I had a black one. And I said to my mom one
Wow.
day, I was like, Mom,
Progressive.
why do I have the black G.I. Joe? She's like, you begged me for him because you wanted something different than the other two boys. I still have him. He was upstairs somewhere. And I'm like, well, it's kind of, you know what it was? It's because
This is
he
what
looked,
comes up when I do G.I. Joe Kung Fu. But are you talking about this
that's
black
him.
guy
That's my
back
man.
here?
Those are my men. Look,
Looks
my
like
ginger.
Samuel L. Jackson
Yes.
back
see,
here.
see my ginger, see my dark haired boy and exactly those three as they
Wow.
stand. Those are my boys. See the hands? See the fists?
They all
Good
look
for
like
jerking
this
off.
this guy in the front kind of looks like Zelensky a little bit.
They
Give us
reminded
more
me-
money, please. We will use for tanks.
They reminded me of the guys from the original Planet of the Apes. That's why I wanted them.
Yes.
Yes,
Wow.
those are my boys.
Okay.
Still in their outfits, by the way, strapping guns, and
Very
those
strapping.
those are hands for jerking off.
Yeah, that's what goes in there. Wow, so you asked for a black Barbie doll, well, a black guy for basically Barbie. 'Cause
I
you
just
were like,
wanted,
you
know.
knew she deserved a good time.
She wanted the kung fu grip was really good to like pull her hair. The ones that still the ones that still
Wow.
had their hair. Yeah,
didn't
like
even
that.
think of
Again,
that.
I have no idea how we got here, but here we are.
Here we
Look
are.
at him. Come on.
Wow.
That's my
Yeah,
man.
look at his hand. Ready to just wrap it around Barbie's neck.
I mean, yeah, they didn't give them like moving body like parts, but look at him. He's a little bit more muscular if you compare him to like Ken.
Yeah, he's got more going on than Ken.
But you know, we all want to use the F
Ken
word
is
on
like,
Ken.
are we going to the Hamptons this weekend?
Exactly.
Ken is Opie. But while he's at the Hamptons, he's complaining. Like,
Am I crazy? I think I might have missed it, but did Opie actually interview the potato?
I think the potato and the corn were both on his show.
So he will interview the potato and the corn, and I'm on week 375 of waiting for him to get back to
He
me.
won't have me either. Back when his was his name Carl Ruiz
Carl
was
Ruiz,
his
yeah, sure,
co-host.
the chef. Hmm.
He had reached out to me. I think because he kind of low key had a little crush.
Hmm.
Because there was a day where I was in the city and I was supposed to. He was like, "Oh yeah, come, you'll do the show with all of us." And I'm like waiting like a couple hours. We were at his restaurant, and then he took me somewhere. Like we walked somewhere to get meringues, which were actually like nice. I'd never had a meringue. I was like, "Oh, this is like a little cookie thing." I was like, "Okay, this is fun." But like, where the hell is Opie? We're just waiting around the restaurant, and then he's like, "Oh, Opie's actually just like out on his boat today." And I was like, "What the fuck am I waiting here for? Hours?"
really?
You know, I was being so patient, but at this point, it was getting to be like half a day, and I was like, I had to go, and I was like, I just feel like I got bamboozled into a date. And then he died, and I was like, well, now I can't speak ill. So,
But he died
But
really not that soon after he opened that restaurant, right? I mean,
yeah,
I went to
I might have
his
been the last person he had a meringue with.
I went to his funeral thing on the Upper West Side with everybody, and yeah, it was kind of sad. Well, I was there because I wanted to meet Opie because once again, didn't want to like hang out with me, didn't want to like know from me. But meanwhile,
Why?
I don't know. I don't
You're so
know.
likable.
Right? Right?
Like
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Seinfeld. Everybody loves you.
Yes, I think so. I think so. So that's where I'm at with the Stern show. And then Stuttering John, I don't really care about anymore. He sold his apartment, so I think I don't know what he's doing, actually. I have no idea what John is doing. I haven't heard word on him at all. I heard that he might be moving to Florida. I might,
Oh. I think there was an episode you were on with John where John was trying to get you to talk shit about me and you just didn't.
No, I didn't.
And that was nice of you. I mean, like, it can feel easy to just be like, oh, but I don't know.
You know what, though? It's like, I hate to be a dick for the sake of being a dick. Like, if you deserve me to give you some shit like heck Shuli, because I love saying heck Shuli all the time, and I just like to do that because I know it bugs him, I'll do it. But the reality is, it's like, you're a really cool chick, and I have no thoughts whatsoever about bashing another woman on air at all. You know, and I just, and even if you would have bashed me on your show, I probably still wouldn't have come back at you, because I don't like to get into pissing matches with people. I feel like it's incredibly petty. And
why make? I think people do this, and by people I mean like someone like a StutJo or a Chad will be like, oh, I don't know how to create attention for myself, so I will just shit on somebody without even really knowing what I'm talking about, just because it's like
drama.
It's an easy go-to.
It's lazy podcasting. It's lazy radio to just beat the shit out of somebody for no good reason. If you had reason and, you know, they're bugging you, then fine. But you know what? It's not worthy of like an internet war. And, you know, Opie said something to me about like unfollowing me, and he wasn't going to, you know, go on my show, and, you know, that's it for us. And I'm like, dude, why are you putting this on Twitter? Like, if you want to talk to me, you have my PM. We can talk about this like as adults. But if you're going to go after me on Twitter, I'm not engaging you at all.
He does it with Anthony too. Oh, I don't want to be associated. Oh, it's so much drama. But I'm like, he literally spent how long responding to Anthony's little like very innocuous video, like, oh, look who I ran into at the restaurant. It's a guy who looks like Opie, and Opie's like so triggered by it. I was listening to it with Ant on his show the other day, and you can listen to Opie, and I'm like, oh my God, he's so jealous. The more he talks about Anthony, the more obvious it is that he's so jealous, because I was like, this is what it is. And I'm not even an old school, like, an A fan. Like, I'm learning all this just as of like literally 2019 is like when I got into compound media. And I'm like, he is upset because Opie needed Anthony to become famous, but Anthony does not need Opie to remain famous and relevant and working. Whereas Opie's like leveled off, and he has
because Anthony invested his money in doing something that would make compound media. Like, he took his money and did that. Opie took his money and bought a tremendous $6 million apartment in one of the Trump Towers, and then bought a place out east, like in the Hamptons. So he took that money and used it for, you know, luxury living and doing something like that. And then Anthony took his money and decided to create something with it. I think that's the difference between the two. Right?
Definitely.
Opie took
I'm
the
like,
easy
real
way
estate
out.
is smart, I guess. I'm like, if he really wanted to, couldn't he sell off all his stuff, get something reasonable? I mean, I am, you know, I don't make a lot of money, but I can buy a couple of Shure microphones. Like, you do that instead of buying shoes and purses. Like, everyone prioritizes. It's like, but he definitely has the money to buy some good equipment.
At very least, to buy some good equipment. And I don't understand why he doesn't do that. But you know what? I mean, I can say the same thing, but I don't have the money nearly that he has. But sometimes just pull the trigger on something that you want. That's all. Pull the trigger. I was getting echoing in my headphones, and I just went out and bought these like amazing, amazing headphones. So I didn't have to wear what you're wearing. And, you know, they just like shove into my ear. I hear nothing around me, and it's perfection. Oh my God, I'll send you a link for them.
I thought about getting like a pair like that. And then I was like, you know what? I feel more podcasty in these big ass headphones, but then it does affect like your hairstyle choices.
It affects the hairstyle choices, and that's why.
And you can't do earrings. You got to take the earrings out. Like, just these are very like, they kind of push back,
dig into the back of your head.
Back.
I used to love my headphones, but I'm not into it anymore. So I like to just be me. And so I changed everything around just recently. Bought myself a new Mac, and that's what I use the money for. That's what people who give me Snapchats. You know, that's what I use it for. And plus, it costs a ton of money to run my stupid forum and all that stuff, where 5,000 miserable human beings get to say whatever shit they want to, you know, as long as they don't post like animals and stuff like that. Go to the forums. Yeah. As long as they don't post like animals dying and stuff like that, I'm good.
Yeah. People, that is one thing, but animals, come on.
Yeah. That's why I draw the line.
Not the animals. Okay, so interesting. So if I click on this, what comes
she'll
up?
see actually we're talking about you somewhere.
Oh,
I've
never been on here.
Okay, go down and you'll see where I think we posted that we were going to be on at 2 p.m.
Ooh, you.
It's somewhere in there.
There it is. Let's see what people are saying about you coming on. That's exciting. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to scroll for something
Oh,
negative.
yeah, they want us to scissor. So there's that, of course.
Okay, that can be arranged. Are you going to the compound studio? Wow. Okay, they're saying that this pretty girl looks like me. I'll take it.
Oh, and then there's like a weird nude picture of you.
Someone created a nude. I posted a picture of me in a bathing suit at my old apartment.
And they took your head.
Someone took the time to like put a new body on top of mine. If that's the one you're talking about, I did see that photo.
Yes. I was like, why is this in my feed? Like, why is this something that exists here? I don't really understand. Everybody's like, oh, that was like a deep fake somebody did of her. It's not her. But yeah, that's where I usually hang out and chat with all my, you know, closest friends. You know, it's so weird. COVID has let me embrace my inner introvert that I never knew existed.
Ooh, yes. Isn't it decadent to just be like, I'm going to do, there are some days where I'm like, I wish I could just like, that is what I a little bit miss about living on my own is like, you can have, but it's bad because I have the tendency to like really brood and go like sometimes
deep hole,
like deep holes.
Me too.
Just mental holes. But like, stare at the wall for an hour, just reading books. Like when I go on the road to do comedy, I don't even turn the TV on. Like I'll just like read my book or like think about my set. Like it's so weird how like little I actually need. I'll just like revel in like alone time, or I'll just take a scalding hot bath, just like put myself in like a lobster. I'll just boil myself alive.
The best, seriously. And so not being around so many people for such a long time enabled me to realize I don't have to be on all the time. I don't have to be like the center of everybody's universe on a constant basis or perceive myself to be that person. I'm really good with being by myself. Like I love it. I love the alone time.
Why? What's your sign?
Libra.
Ooh, okay. So are you typical Libra? Like you are concerned with like justice and fairness?
Absolutely not. It's actually more about the scales being like, I am conflicted. I'm not sure what to do. I need to get to this point to be happy. Because if I'm like this, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
You are kind of. Okay. Are you like a girly girl?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm early October 8th. So I'm, I think I border a little bit more Virgo, right?
Okay. Yeah,
I believe I border Virgo more than I do Scorpio. So I'm definitely towards the other side. Okay. I don't know. What are you?
I'm a hardcore Scorpio. I have it in like multiple planets, sun, I think rising, a couple of others.
That makes absolute sense to me.
Really?
It really does. Yes, it's actually perfect for you. I get along really, really well with Scorpios. And it's because I'm a little bit more balanced than you are. You tend to be maybe slightly more hot-headed or a little bit more, the stinger will come out and you will, you'll get your point across in whatever way possible. And it could hurt, but maybe not. That's the way.
I'll leave you in the desert for dead. Yeah, that's true. Like if somebody hurts me, it's like you're like dead to me. But I'm not gonna like broadcast it. I'll just like quietly put you in another category.
Yeah, I like partition it. Like I take my hate for you and I put it back here. And then it'll only rear its ugly head via like a podcast or something like that, where I'll go on a diatribe about you and how much I fucking hate you. And yeah, we're not hotheads, we're emotional. That's what it is. You're exactly right. We're emotional.
I forgive, but I don't forget.
I never forget. I never forget a face, and I never forget something that was done to me to hurt me. Can we just discuss Frank for a quick second? That we were supposed to do this show tomorrow, and it wound up being today. He blamed it on wedding stuff, just so you know.
Okay, that's fair, because we do have a ton of appointmenty things and involving like church stuff, venue stuff. Like it's
when are you getting married? You don't have to say the date,
March.
but just give me like a round.
Okay, October. Yay!
Perfect time of year. In the Northeast, or are you?
Yeah, Northeast.
Okay, I didn't want you to give any information because I don't know what people know.
It's okay. But yeah, it's like we've produced things before. Like we've both on our own produced tons of comedy shows, comedy festivals. We've produced a couple of these like content houses where it's like we rent a whole big house. We organize who's going to come and stay there, flights, and getting equipment out there. And like we'll do a 48-hour podcast. We get sponsors. Like so we've done big projects where there's like a lot of parts to it, and you're like pulling off a thing, which is how planning a wedding feels. But there's things you have to do rather than like it's all what you think you want to do. So
are you pulled together?
It's coming together. It's coming together.
Because it's going to be here like momentarily.
Yes, I know. I'm just trying to not get fat. That's my. Are
you doing a honeymoon? Like,
I don't know if we have like time for a real one right away. Maybe just like a small one right away, and then like do a real trip next year or something.
When do you have time, though? Honestly,
not really. I don't. I mean, to me, all my actual trips like have to do with comedy and work, and
everything revolves around your job.
Yeah, like even when it comes to visit, like nobody in my family ever tries to visit me. It's always me. Like, all right, I'm gonna be in North Carolina. I'm gonna be in Vegas. I'm gonna be in Florida. I'll be here. I'm doing these gigs. Like, let's hang out. So
there's never a meaningful trip of not doing anything.
Right, because why am I to get on the plane and like try to not make money or do something productive or record something with someone or
Don't regret not doing that though. Don't feel like you need to not do that. Don't skip it, because you know what? It's so stressful to do this. Don't put off your honeymoon. Yes, my wife and I 18 years never took our honeymoon.
You never went.
See, this is what happens. You say
it's going to. That some people take a 2-week honeymoon. Who has time and money for that?
Oh my God, I took a 3-week honeymoon. But like you say, it was based around work. So so my honeymoon was 14 of the 24 days I was away. But my company agreed to pay for my husband's flight, because whenever I had to go to Asia, it would be like in business class. So they agreed to pay for his flight if I would go and check in on production on my way home from my trip. So I spent.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I went Alaska, Taiwan, Bali, which is where I had my honeymoon. For 10 days, then to Hong Kong, then to Manila, and Hong Kong and Manila were all work. So
and that's where you got
not that trip. No, I used to go all the time, so not that trip. But it was a long ass time to be away, and it was literally the day after my wedding, so it was kind of insane. I left my dogs and everything behind, and just got on a plane. But I will tell you that what somebody told me, which I always thought was the best thing about getting married, and believe me, there's a lot of horrible things, but the best thing about it was like, as the seatbelt sign came off at 35,000 feet, I knew I was done. Like all the stress, all the pressure, all the everything.
I was even done with the relationship. I was like,
no. Once the seatbelt sign came off, then the pressure was relieved. I didn't have to worry about anything else that had to do with that friggin' wedding. Like I didn't have to worry about anything else that had to do with planning or doing anything. And a hurricane came through when we were doing it, and I had an outdoor wedding, and it was horrific. I mean, the storms were like insanity. I was on like 2 Valium. I was trying to clean up outside. It was an absolute nightmare. But at the end, I can't tell you. People are like, oh my God, we had the most fun. We were soaking.
That's all I want. I want everyone to have a blast. That's what I work, because I always like worry about everybody else. I go like, I just think like I'm okay on my own. I can do whatever. Like I'll be all right. But like I want people to be stressed and people to have fun. Like, people are traveling. Like, I know.
Yes, everybody traveled to mine too.
People let you know how annoying it was for them to travel, and then like sometimes people are like, "What else are we doing?" Like they expect a whole itinerary. Like I'm gonna wheel out a 5-day you know.
Oh, they want you to have breakfast in the morning. They want you to have a thing, a get together, meet and greet, if you will. And then you have to have your rehearsal dinner. And then
Isn't
you have
that
to
funny? And I'm like, isn't that so funny? I'm like, wow, y'all lived in New York, everybody at the same time. No, like my parents made no effort to meet Frank's parents, literally none. And then because they lived in fucking Long Island, everyone was in New York, no one even tried. And then my mom like got cancer, and then that was the excuse. And like they still, I know cancer sucks, but like she was still, before she got bad, she was still well enough. And like they blew off our housewarming party where like
Really?
parents were gonna be, yeah. So I'm like, don't give me this, oh, we gotta have all these events. I'm like, you guys weren't at all trying to know these people. So everyone's
Did they ever wind up hooking up? Did they ever wind up?
my dad, my mom died in 2018. My dad has met his parents like once or twice. My mom has never met them. But we started dating in 2014. My mom died in 2018. So it's like they could have totally met the first few years.
That's so weird to me.
They didn't really make an effort. So, yeah, I don't know.
Too bad. That's too bad.
Everyone's
Nothing
just
you can do about it.
themselves.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, everybody wants, if they're going to travel to you, they want to be entertained. So that's the key. I will tell you, the one thing I did that I loved is that I had what's it called? The first thing you do before the reception, not the happy hour.
Remove all the babies.
No, no babies, no children allowed. What is it? Not happy hour. What is it called? The first part.
The cocktail hour.
Cocktail hour. Okay, I had cocktail hour before we actually got married. So I did cocktail hour. Everybody was like fed and drank, and so then by the time I walked down the aisle, everybody was like in a great mood. Everybody. Ooh. Nobody was waiting for drinks. Nobody was waiting for like anything. Everybody had a drink in their hand. But you're doing a church thing? You're doing like the full Monty?
No. That might be before, but it's going to be like a thing there, but like not churchy. But definitely you learn just from the years of going to other people's weddings, like I would never, ever do a Sunday wedding. Like, never. What is wrong with you? Never. If you're going to take people's Sundays away from them, that's their day to do laundry, to do nothing, to like mentally prepare for the work week. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you calling everybody out? Just as you want to save a few bucks and have it on Sunday? Like, what an asshole move that is. And sorry for the people that are listening.
Sorry for all of you that had Sunday weddings.
No Sunday weddings and no
July 4th, Christmas.
You gotta do an open bar. Like, I don't know.
See,
people
don't know from the open bar. It's a very Northeast phenomenon to have an open bar. I went to the first wedding ever, like when I was in my 20s, that had like, I was just telling the story. It's so weird that there was like a table, and I'm like, what's that table for? And it's like, oh, that's for gifts. And it's like, doesn't everybody just give money? Like, isn't that the way it works?
Some people like to give items. Some people are like, ooh, I really love this mixer. You need to have it. Or, oh, I got,
Well, the way it works now, there's like that website called Zoda or I can't remember what it's called, but you can put your gift registry on there. It's genius. You can, say, I want like a dozen bottles of this water, and people will order it for you thinking that they're ordering those dozen bottles of water for you. But then Zoda, whatever it's called, will come to you and say, okay, would you rather have the $35 for the thing of water, or do you want us to put in the order for whatever it is that they bought? And a lot of people just take the cash. It's like, fuck it.
I have an issue with like asking people for things. Like,
They're not asking; they want to give. Just do it.
It feels very asking to me.
I know. I hated everything about it because I didn't need anything from anyone. I had been with him for 10 years, and he was much older, and so I didn't really care about the gifts. So I just made a FU registry. I just registered for things that I would have always wanted, but never, because I'm inherently cheap, I would never go out and buy for myself. Like the best fork, knives, and spoon thing. And copper pots. I mean, things I would never, ever buy. Exactly, copper pots.
They last forever. There is like one of those fancy, what is it? Is it the Rubbermaid mixer? What's it called? It's the one that like all these women like jizz for. It's the KitchenAid. Rubbermaid is, I think that's Tupperware. I don't know. The KitchenAid, they have the fancy colors, but I would never tell someone to buy that for me, because then you're telling the person, I want you to spend however much it is, $300. Like it just, that feels like such a diva move.
You would
and I
be
hate that.
surprised at how many people want to do that. They think to themselves, okay, how much was I going to give them in cash for this? Would they prefer to have my money? If they wouldn't prefer to have my money, I would feel better about giving a gift. And $350 is completely
I'm like
reasonable.
a love language gift person too, because I like to give people gifts, and I
Me
want
too.
I want them to look at that mixer every day and think
Yes.
of me.
And know that when I'm making bread, that I
Yeah,
am responsible
I'm
for
looking
that.
at that mixer and going, I could make my own pasta, but I won't. But I am
won't.
thinking of you.
Yeah. I'm at the stage in my life where it's like, okay, you know what? If I want a KitchenAid mixer, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to buy it. Like
That's how I am. But that's the thing. You realize that these traditions were established for much younger people
as a
in their
dowry.
right out of high school, just starting out. They had nothing. And it's almost, I think it's better to like wait till you're older, then you really like the person. It's like sucks for other things, but everything's a trade-off, and it's like you're more established. Like you don't need everybody's money and things. It's just
You don't.
Yeah.
The reality is, yes, if you're like 21 and, wanting to get pregnant and have babies really soon and stuff like that, I get the need to do that. I had a girlfriend once who had this huge wedding in Long Island at that big mansion, like that really expensive Ohika
Nassau
Castle.
or Suffolk? Which one was it? Oh, okay.
Ohika Castle is what it's
Okay.
called. Her father spent $275,000 on her wedding back in 1995.
Holy
6.
fuck.
You ready? They
No,
got
there will be no charities. Come on, it's my day, okay?
it's all about you that day. All about you. So she got all cash. She got all cash from the wedding. They went on their honeymoon to let's go XYZ, island. They bought themselves with the cash. They bought themselves Rolex watches and whatever other shit they wanted.
That seems wrong. Like,
And you
I don't
ready?
know.
You ready?
Did they break up? Please tell me they broke up. Please.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months he was out of the house and she was getting a divorce. And the father spent so much money on this kid. But you think to yourself, Jesus, I gave them a lot of money for this wedding. I
Did you get it
deserve to get my
back?
money back.
You do. A partial refund. Like a
Partial refund.
prorated, because you gave that for a
Exactly.
lifetime.
20% service fee and then just give me back my fucking money. Like,
Right.
seriously. And I had to see this chick all the time because I worked with her. And it's like, dude, honestly, you should really be giving back that money. She's like, why?
Yeah,
I got
how do they not
married.
feel bad?
No, not even a
They
thought.
justify because I spent $500 a head or whatever it was.
No, your dad did, not you. You spent nothing.
Right.
You spent nothing. Yeah.
The nerve of these young people like demanding an expensive wedding. It's also kind of like the nerve of these young people, like you said before, if someone really wants to have a lot of kids. I think maybe it's just how I was raised. It's like almost like the nerve of you, like how do you think you can afford to have all these kids?
The
Like just
balls on you.
are you gonna be
It is so expensive to have a child today and give it a good education and hopefully not have it have debt in college like I did and and be able to afford to pay for it for them. I mean, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars investment in this one, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5.
this one person that might want to be trans in 10 years. And then you're like, fuck.
And then you're like, God
What have I
damn it.
done?
What have I done? It's me. I blame me. I would blame myself completely for that. What did I do wrong?
Trend will blow over and it won't be a thing anymore. It's a trend. Wow, we really tackled all the subjects. Yeah, I think I get very triggered when I see people like asking for shit and like not really working for it. It's like,
I don't really like takers, and I'm actually disgusted by people that take. Although I do have sympathy for people. I do. I have sympathy if you have a child who's autistic or has like a issue and you need extra help and you don't have the money to do that. I am all for you. I'm all for you. And I want you to have as much help as you humanly can possibly get. But like I said, after 2 kids and you are on the system, you have to work for that money. There are plenty of jobs sweeping the train system and, making New York City look cleaner and better, picking up the garbage that's like overflowing in front of 5 napkin. It's just like
and
there's certain things.
at a hospital.
What?
Like, I don't know, just be a receptionist. It's so easy. I've had so many receptionist jobs. It's like,
One would think that they can handle that job. See, that's the whole thing. It needs to be a menial task job. It can't be something where you actually have to be responsible for the president of a company getting his voicemail. You can't. You can't put them in a responsibility job. But you want Central Park to be beautiful? Clean it up. This is what you can do.
When I had to sign for people's lunches at one of my receptionist jobs, like the people I didn't like, I would draw sometimes like an unhappy face on there. And like how I thought of the person, like the doodle would be based on like where their current standing with me.
Did you know in your heart though that this was just going to be a temporary job and you didn't give a rat's ass
Oh
one way or the
yes.
other?
I was like, I'm not long for this title insurance world. Like that was one job where I was like, I mean, several of my jobs, you take it knowing you're like, I'm gonna fucking hate this. But you're just desperate, and it's like either this or selling pictures of your butthole, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna work at this title insurance company. I don't know what I still don't know what it is. I worked there for 9 months. I couldn't tell you the first thing about what goes on. But
what was the longest job you had not doing what you love to do that you were in?
I was always doing like comedy with working because I like out of college I was either doing improv or stand up like the whole time, so I always was also working. But longest job I had was 6 years.
Really?
And that was the most recent one. Yeah.
What'd you do?
I'm not like out about it yet. But I worked in corporate media.
So you had a corporate job at a desk that you worked like 9 to 5-ish, or were you?
Oh God. I mean, I wish it was supposed to be 9 to 5, but then I would work till 6 and then I
Yes,
would
of
stop
course.
taking a lunch break because I wanted to be a good assistant. And then like, you can't start taking your lunch again once you've stopped doing that because
you
then
go
it's
down
like,
that slippery slope road.
where
Yes,
the hell
exactly.
are you going? What are you doing? And then, this person wanted me to only go on vacation, like only take vacation days when he was taking vacation days because it was just me I was his only EA. So I couldn't like fucking take a shit without checking in with him first. I had to basically like be on call kind of all the time.
That's the expectation. You are on that phone and you are going to reply. Yeah, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'd be working remotely and I would be in the bathroom and he'd call me like 3, 4, 5 times. Like, where the fuck are you? He wouldn't say like fuck, but I literally could. I'd be like, I was in the bathroom. Do you want to know what happened? Like,
Exactly.
It was
That's
rough.
horrible.
It was really
I know,
rough.
it's rough. And yet you were you still doing like gigs and stuff like that? So, and did they know that? Did they know that you did this?
He did. I was using all my vacation days to do road gigs. He got really upset when he found out through a podcast that I went to January 6th, but he thought he could fire me on that. But I took vacation days because I took off.
You can't fire somebody for just being outside.
So I'm like, no. And
did you stab anybody with a flagpole?
No, I didn't even go inside. It was so chill. It was the most chill time. Yeah, so he was upset about that. I think he was upset that I was getting press and media and the job that I was in. He and his organization was supposed to be getting the press and the attention and the Hollywood and the whole thing. So, and it became very apparent to him that I was politically the polar opposite of him, which he was not aware of when he hired me. And it shouldn't matter, but
6 years.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing to me that wouldn't manifest itself somehow in your conversations and whatever.
Well, I was desperately keeping parts of my personality away. Like I was not, and he's a very self-involved person, like very much all about him. So it would be very easy for the conversation to not, be about like what I was up to. So
God forbid he cared.
But you learn every time you have a job, like the more of your personality you let out, the more like it puts a timer on your time there. Like in my experience, the more people get to know me, the more they're going to want me to stop working here because they either have a negative association, like, oh, you're a comedian, so that's like an actor, so you're just eventually like going to leave. They can't imagine that you don't want to be answering phones 10 years from now. Like they want somebody who wants to be a career assistant. And if you have any other goals, like they're not happy to hear that.
Yeah. I think that, I was in charge of like 15 people. So I was like that douchebag boss. I sometimes made people cry, and I know that I did, but I demanded a lot of them. We were always on like a time crunch and shit like that. And I feel like when people used to leave, you know, I was never angry or sad or anything like that. I was happy for them. And it's like, yeah, I always want you to be able to make more money and be able to go somewhere else and thrive more than what I can give you, more than what I can give you as a raise, more than what I can do as an increase in your promotion or anything like that. And my one thing I always used to say to anybody who worked for me is, you know, you have an opportunity now. And I've done this to, I can't tell you how many people. It's like, let me tell you what's wrong with the way you work. And so what you can do, you can consider this like going to summer camp. You can be anybody you want when you go into that summer camp because they don't know you and you don't know them. So establish yourself as the person that you want to be as opposed to the person that you are. And let me tell you what you do wrong. You know, you never answer the phone professionally. You never look at a deadline and know that it's something that if I tell you it's a deadline, I'm not telling you just to hear myself talk. It's because that's when it needs to be. And I never want to be having to go into your computer and fix something that you did because you're hanging out on your phone for half the fucking day. Because remember that your boss can always hear you. They always know what you're doing. And so learn from this and know for your next job that you can go in there as a badass. You can go in there as somebody who takes lunch every day. You know, fuck you. It's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking lunch. I am that person. And you can reinvent yourself so that you are better for your next job, period. You know, and people always learn from that, you know, benevolent dictator, tough but fair. Fuck it.
Me at day jobs, well, who knows if that would be different today, but like lose all confidence. Literally, I put myself last. I like afraid to take lunch, just afraid of being yelled at.
If I loved you and I thought you were great at what you did, I would even ask the owner of my company if I could send you for, you know, more classes, learn something new so that you could be better and you could be a little bit more helpful to us, you know, because at the end of the day, it's all about, you know, how much you help me to help my company, which means that I'm going to get a bigger bonus. That's all that matters.
I kept working there despite asking for raises, never getting them. I would keep working there. I'd be like, well,
yeah,
maybe next year.
But meanwhile, now kids, their expectation is to make $100,000 as soon as they walk out of school, and because they think that they deserve it. And there's all these companies that, you know, especially if you do something that they want. I would tell you that most kids I know that are in their 20s, early 30s have liberal vacation. You can take as much vacation as you want. Just make sure that your job is still done. You want to work from Idaho? Knock yourself out. We're still going to pay you as if you live in New York City. You know, they're constantly on Zoom calls like yourself. You know, you're a Zoom comedian.
I'm a Zoom
so
comedian.
They're constantly on Zoom calls. They're constantly and they are attached to their phones. And so that's the expectation nowadays. But if you want to go away for 2 weeks, go. Have fun. Just make sure we can get a hold of you. So that's kind of the way it is nowadays in a weird way. So if you ever have to go back to the world, just know that you can be a better version of yourself and be the strong woman that you are on these fucking podcasts and on these shows.
I'm going to have a stage name if I go back to the working world. That's something that never occurred to me. I always just like... I was like, oh shit, now you can Google me. God damn it.
Why don't you have a work name instead?
That's what I need. I need a work name. I'm gonna like have a really responsible sounding name.
And you'll sound nice and Jewish. It'll be Christina Meyerowitz. It'll be perfect.
Oh. What's like a name of somebody that you would never fire for having a hobby? Let's see. I don't know. I'd have to be like Sarah. Sarah seems responsible, or Susan.
Rebecca
My last roommate, Susan Wyman. I remember names of roommates over the years.
Susan Wyman would be great. Ask her if you can use her Social Security and you'll just give her like a low percentage of the money.
Oh my God. I lived with Susan Wyman in Astoria, Queens for like 4 years. I moved in because I wanted to live 2 blocks away from my ex-boyfriend because he never would visit me in Williamsburg. And I was like, well, if I want this wasted to work, I guess I have to fucking move.
That's where my family house is, in Williamsburg, Greenpoint.
What? Okay,
yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
It was. I got the sense that I was paying the whole rent because it was rent controlled, and Susan didn't have a job. She wasn't trying to get a job. She was older. She was 65 when I moved in.
You moved in as a 65-year-old?
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing.
I've lived with all kinds of people. She would eat my food, never replace it. She would get angry when I put stuff on what she thought was her shelf. Like I didn't realize we had different shelves that we could use, but I'd have something like in a closet, and if I mistakenly put it on her shelf, she would take it out in the middle of the night and just leave it in the hallway, like passive aggressively. So I would just see items of mine out in the hallway, and then so that was my cue to relocate it.
So how many different roommates have you had in your life? Non-school related.
Counting college? Okay, just the world. There was Nicole and the lesbian. There was Robin. There was Susan. I think 4 or 5.
Interesting. And which one did you love? Like adore, like hang out with you, watch TV, just chill person? Any of them?
Well, me and the first roommate, Nicole, we were friends. We met when I was temping at NYU in the IT department, and we met there, and we became like actually really good friends. She was like engaged. That relationship fell apart. I was still living at home, but we're both, I think, from Long Island, so that's what we bonded over. So we I was meant to meet her because she was going to be the friend that would like motivate me to like finally move out of my parents' house.
Right. She was the push.
Yeah, it was the push. And then I got very busy with like comedy. I'm doing open mics, and I think she was like low key upset that I just wasn't around to try new restaurants in Williamsburg with her. And I was like, I don't have fucking time. Like I'm eating dollar slices, going to the open mics. Like I don't have the time or money to like try a new French onion soup, you know?
I love Williamsburg, though. I have to tell you, growing up
fun.
there was a little bit strange. You know, I used to go into McCarran Pool when it was like dirty, gross McCarran
Wow.
Pool.
Like back when they had diving boards, or
back when it had diving boards, and we would sneak in at like 2:00 in the morning, just jump the fence, and go swimming. Yeah, it was amazing. It was
that's really
good
neat.
times.
I've been to McCarran. I think I went there a couple times.
Good times. Good times.
Those were good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Like you can't. I don't know if the kids now would. And all my other roommates I found on Craigslist. Like I had no regard for my own well-being. I just was like, well, I got to move somewhere. Let's see what's going on Craigslist.
Yeah, I never had a roommate in my life. Like I've never lived with somebody else other than when I got married. That's it.
I think it helped that I always shared a room with my sister, so I never had a sense of privacy.
Me too. I had a bunk bed. My sister used to kick me from the bottom bunk when she would get angry at me. She was such a bitch to me. I couldn't get out of the house fast enough, and that's why I think I needed to be alone. See, that's the thing. So my mother knew somebody who ran a funeral parlor on Humboldt Street, and I lived. Yes.
Wow. My first apartment I think was like on Stag. Or Lorimer or something.
Lorimer, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So it was on Humboldt Street, and she's like, Monique, I can get you an apartment if you'd like, and it's on top of the funeral parlor. And I think I was paying. You ready? I think I was paying $300 a month. It was totally. I know, it was totally rent controlled, and $300. And then old man Abramo passed away, and he left it to his son or something like that. And but the power used to go out all the time. I used to have to sneak into the basement to throw the fuse box, but that's where they did all the embalming. So it was a fright fest, a fucking fright fest to go downstairs. I'd sooner be without electricity. Yes.
Were they naked?
Yes. They had sheets on them most of the time.
Did it smell?
No, not at all. It smelled like embalming fluid. Yes, a little bit.
I don't know what that smells like. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's a weird smell. I didn't know what it was until I knew what it was, because that's where I was. But I thought my apartment was haunted, and I used to feel things like coming at me in the middle of the night because there was so many dead bodies in there. How could it not be? It was really creepy.
Wow, but $300 though. I would take a little hauntedness for $300.
Oh my God. I kept that apartment for forever. I sublet it for forever. I never even had a lease. So I never even really cared about it. And they didn't live there because, it was a funeral parlor. And there were only like 4 apartments above it. And so, I sublet it for years once I moved back into the city. It was a huge cash cow for me. Yeah.
I thought I had an exciting life living above in edible arrangements.
Ooh, fruit bugs. No.
I know. I was like, how is this place in business? I was amazed.
Sooner have the dead. For sure. It was very quiet in that apartment.
Oh, wow. I've never had a good moving out experience. Every time I had to move, I had to be in like the middle of the night or quickly, or like it was always a crash and burn, horrible situation. Like I never left on good terms ever.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. How'd you leave it with the 65-year-old? Food thief.
I kind of
took all the food and left.
No, I think I just was like, yeah, I'm moving out. I definitely like, left her, paid up the rest of my, rent. I didn't owe her any money, but she wanted like a utility bill for like the one extra day that I was there or something like that. She was trying to charge me like, Jewish. So, she was just trying to, trying to like nickel and dime me. And I was like, wow. It was crazy though.
You're so funny. You're like me. You can't sit still at all. I can't sit still.
No, I have to have one leg up. I know it doesn't look good, but
look at me. This is a constant. This is a constant for me.
What am I going to sit with both my feet on the ground?
I can't
like
sit with my feet on the ground. I can't do that.
Sitting like this. Even in my day jobs, I would sit, like take my shoes off and sit like Indian style.
My office at work, I swear to you, there had to be 10 pairs of shoes underneath my desk because I would constantly wear something to the office, take them off, and put on sneakers. I couldn't sit with my shoes on. And this is how I am constantly.
Yeah. I'm like
ADD
wrapping
thing.
my leg around.
I click the pen all friggin'. This is what I do.
Have you ever taken an ADD test?
I have not, but I am absolutely ADD with a slight major in OCD.
Ooh.
Slight. Which I'm okay with. I must complete something once I start it. I have to complete a chapter if I'm reading something before I can put it down. Like I can't leave mid-paragraph. Like who does that? Who leaves mid-paragraph? If I'm listening to something, I need to finish the song. If I'm doing this, like if I have 10 clips for the Stern Show tonight that we're doing, I have to play all 10 clips. I have to play them fully. I can't not play the entire thing. Like there's just certain weird things that you just got to do. That's how I roll. But I probably have some ADD. I don't care.
Did you know that each of the Winnie the Pooh characters stands for a different mental disorder? Like Pooh is ADD, Tigger is ADHD, Rabbit I think is OCD, Piglet is anxiety, Christopher Robin is schizophrenia. Because he thinks he can talk to animals, but there was a test. There's a test you can take. There's a test you can take that tells you which Winnie the Pooh character you are, and it decides which mental, disorder you have. And I got Winnie the Pooh. Take the Pooh test.
Disorder test. I'm absolutely doing that.
Let's see if we can get it right now.
Okay, let's do it.
The Pooh disorder test.
I'm all over it. Eeyore had to be depression, of course.
Pooh pathology. All right, let's find out your Pooh pathology. Okay. We'll blow through this. I should have been wrapping this up, but we're just having so much fun. Okay, I hope this is the right one. Here's your Pooh pathology. It's 33 questions, but you won't feel a thing. Sarcasm and tone of voice are often lost on me. Agree, disagree, somewhere in the middle. There's also like varying degrees of this.
Oh, all the way onto to the left, disagree.
Okay.
Disagree.
Oh, disagree. That's the left. When I am alone, I sometimes feel as if there is someone or something watching me.
Disagree. Let's go with 2 over.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
If a good thing comes my way, I don't feel happy about it. I don't feel I deserve to be happy.
Oh, all the way disagree.
I frequently lose things, forgetting where I put my stuff.
2 over with agree.
Okay. My thoughts jump from topic to topic with little consistency or control.
2 over to agree.
I don't feel that things are under control unless I am in charge.
Absolutely all the way agree.
I sometimes think that I have powers that other people would not be able to understand.
I said stay neutral. I don't even understand the question.
Powers? I don't know, like maybe strengths that you can't, but you probably are able to explain them.
Yeah,
this seems like an ego-minded question.
Yeah, I would just say next. I don't really care about that.
I talk more and think faster than others.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
People think I say strange things. In my mind, I am sure they talk about me behind my back, picking apart every little thing. If Opie would say 100% agree for this. 100%. Picking apart every little thing I said or did.
This is true only because of what I do here and the stupid podcast. So I'm not necessarily sure that I would agree with it in normal, discussion.
I think do normal life for this.
Yeah. Okay. So just agree. Call it a day.
Just agree. The thought of having no one in my corner to look out for me makes me seriously afraid.
Fully disagree.
I take things too literally so that I often miss the intention behind what people are trying to say.
You can give me one dollop of disagree.
Okay. I feel like that's an Asperger question.
Yeah, totally.
Even when things are going fine for me, I am anxious that it won't last.
Oh, totally disagree.
I am always worried about one thing or another.
One point towards agree. But I'm a Libra, so.
People sometimes tell me I give unrelated answers to their questions.
I disagree.
Disagree. Oops, go back. We can go back.
You're fucking me up. See?
We can go back. Disagree.
Yeah. Okay.
Disagree. I am quick to act on a whim, thinking little about the negative consequences of my actions.
2 points towards agree.
I frequently have problems staying with the task at hand.
2 points to agree.
I'm like all the way agree. I often think that interactions with other people are just more trouble than they're worth. 2 points to agree. I take care to spend my money wisely so that I can handle an unforeseen situation.
2 points disagree.
When I start feeling down, it's as if I keep sinking until I've hit rock bottom.
Oh, all the way disagree.
I always make sure that my work is well planned and well structured.
2 points disagree. I'm never structured.
When things get too boring, I feel compelled to start adding a little color to the situation to get the party started.
2 points to agree.
I am uncomfortable around strangers and sometimes fantasize that they will hurt me.
Oh, all the way disagree. Jesus.
I have been sad most of my life.
Oh, definitely disagree.
That's definitely an Eeyore question. I feel better about making big decisions if I get others to suggest a course of action and then follow that.
Oh, all the way disagree. I don't care about anybody else's opinion.
That's great. When I feel overwhelmed by my senses, I have to isolate myself to shut them down.
Interesting. 1 point disagree. No, 1 point agree.
Sometimes people smile at me in the street and I don't really know why.
That's a weird question. Just keep it neutral. Go to next.
I think that's a self-awareness question.
Yeah.
I am constantly daydreaming.
1 point disagree.
I am often told that I am a very correct and respected person.
1 point agree.
I seem to have so much energy that I can sometimes be exhausting or annoying to others.
Oh, 2 points agree.
I am undersensitive to social cues and the prospect of danger.
Interesting. I'd say 2 points agree. I never think of danger. Never.
Wow, that must be nice. Okay. I'm almost never happy, and I can't really think of anything that would make me happy.
Ooh, no. Totally disagree.
I finish my work and chores before tending to hobbies and fun.
Oh, all the way disagree.
Same. My thoughts have a tendency to run in strange loops and dwell on weird themes, and I wish I could get rid of this.
No, I would say 2 points disagree.
Okay. Finish.
What am I
You
gonna be?
are Tigger.
Woohoo! I'm a Tigger Pooh combo?
You're Tigger. You're ADHD.
Oh, that makes
You're
absolute sense.
heavily Tigger with some Pooh. With next highest is Pooh.
It's ADD, which makes sense.
Followed by schizophrenia, OCD, autism. Rue is autism. I forgot about Rue. You're not depressed. You're not anxious.
Wow. I am Tigger. Okay, I like it.
Tigger, please. Unlike Pooh, who has inattentive ADD, Tigger has ADHD of the impulsive hyperactivity variety. He is always bouncing, gets overly excited, and cannot pay attention to one thing for too long.
Absolutely.
He has high stimulus threshold and trouble feeling fear. His overconfidence results in dangerous and reckless behavior on the one hand, and the belief that he can do anything on the other. His abnormally high energy level causes him to interrupt and intrude upon others, as well as to blurt out answers before a question has even been completed.
Yes.
His inability to learn from the frightening and hazardous incidents he gets himself into means that he bounces back almost immediately and is ever ready to pursue the next source of excitement.
You would think I'm a toddler wearing a fucking football helmet. What do I do? Just bang into walls and like come back?
That is what it sounds like. Yeah.
Jesus. And you got Pooh.
I got Pooh.
Interesting.
Pooh.
So
I
we're
guess
in the
I'm
same
less,
spectrum of things.
I'm less hyperactive. So I'm just attention deficit disorder. So like.
Yeah, I'm usually shot out of the cannon first thing during the day. And, and then I just kind of mellow out for most of the day. And then I pick right back up around 9 o'clock at night. And then if I get to sleep by midnight, it's a push. It's a push. But I'm up first thing in the morning. Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Now we got
Sometimes I am very Pooh-like. Like I get up and I'm like, oh, bother. And I often don't wear pants.
I often don't wear pants. I just I was telling you when I found out that it was today and not tomorrow. I was like, fuck, I actually have to put myself into acceptable look. My hair was like on top of my head here. I think I still had on the t-shirt that I slept in, It's just like
wow, we got a super chat. Thanks, Ghost Crusaders. I believe some of the people going after John's fingernails and being a disgusting pig because he sent an aging mafioso wannabe to threaten people.
Yeah, well, we know all about his threats. We all are very well aware of how the person that hates trolls the most became a troll himself. So it's just interesting to see how, turnaround was fair play with him. Although I personally believe that what happened is that the trolls that love to hate on us came out of the woodwork and said, I can help you fuck with her. I can help you make her life miserable. Allow me to help because that's what I do.
He is dumb and thought I had an OnlyFans because there was a picture of me on a boat in a bathing suit. I'm like, John, not every person with a picture in a bathing suit means you have an OnlyFans.
Yeah, although I would love to have like a foot OnlyFans. I think that would be really fun.
An OnlyFeet? Are you
Only
on WikiFeet?
Is there a WikiFeet?
Oh, there is. I'm on it.
I don't know from WikiFeet.
You might be on WikiFeet.
I doubt I'm on WikiFeet. I mean, unless some asshole put me on there.
Wait, let's see. Monique, should I just do Radio Gunk? Do you go by a last name?
Yeah, Palladino. I see. We're going to be related soon.
P-A-L-L.
A-D-I-N-O.
See if you're on WikiFeet. No, you're not.
Oh, thank God.
Post more foot pics.
I don't have any foot pics, silly girl.
That's what WikiFeet will do, but they'll take entire feet, like photos of you, and they'll just throw that if your feet are just at all involved. They'll throw the whole thing on there.
Okay, I don't know from that at all. At all. But I will make sure. I will endeavor to put myself on WikiFeet.
My WikiFeet's kind of out of control. It started because I was a foot model for a few years, one of my jobs.
Oh, geez. Let me see.
But now they just throw entire photos on there,
and hope that it catches a glimpse of your feet on it.
Well, these do involve my feet. Like this was from God, good God.
Oh, look at you! You're like,
I'm there. There's a lot, and then there's me blatantly like showing a foot to the camera, but then there's just like group shots.
Now, do you have any tattoos?
None. I just never had the money, and then when I did have the money, finally, I was like, I can't decide on anything.
Yeah, it's so true. I have one on my foot, which is, of course, that's where which is happiness hit her like a bullet in the back. I was going through a midlife crisis and I decided a Florence and the Machine song was going to be appropriate for my foot.
I loved Florence and the Machine.
Loved. So, and people are always like, what does that say? I was like, yeah, it's just a blurred mass of blue fucking.
That was a great song, though. That song got you hyped. You
Great
felt
song.
like there's so few songs that get you like excited for life again, and for I don't know. I think that song still has that effect. But when it first came out, you're like, oh my God, this song. I'm alive.
I can really hear it every time it's on. So I'm good with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's on my foot. So of course it's,
I want a song on my foot.
That's what I was doing. It was like, it made me happy. And every time I look down and I see it, it makes me happy.
I think I'm going to get, I like the way you work it, no diggity tattooed on my foot.
Okay. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Here, I'll show you mine. Mine is.
I'm going to get regrets appear like old friends on my foot.
Okay. So
yes.
So it just comes around all the way down.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
I like it. And thank you for doing a petty.
Yes, of course. Only for you, my love.
Oh my
No
God.
regrets.
You're the best, Monique.
You're
we
the
didn't
best,
really-
Chrissy.
we really didn't talk that much shop. We just
That's
kind of got
okay.
to know each other and subjected everyone to it.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. So everybody gets to know things about me they may not have known from my show because, you know, I always have 3 other boys talking. And yeah, everybody always asks me to do an AMA, but now you got it. So there you go.
Ooh, where can people watch you and hear you?
Okay, so here's what's going on in the next week or so. So obviously Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, I do the Today Tonight show, which is just kind of a recap of what the Howard Stern show was like for that day. And it's usually on at 9 o'clock at night, 9 to 11. And next week I am joining, or they are joining me, Carl and Alex Stein, who is a huge Stern fan. We're going to doing our annual review of the Pelican Brief, which is like a phenomenal Howard Stern behind the scenes dissertation that he did a couple of years ago, because we never get enough of that. So Alex and Carl are joining me to do that next week, Friday. And yeah, that's all I got. Come visit me at radiogunk.com in the forum section, and we can chat about anything you want to, because that's how we roll.
I love it. And somebody, for the love of God, start a wiki feed page for Monique.
You know what? I'll put some feed on my Instagram, and then you can do a wiki feed for me. How
Good.
about that?
And it doesn't have to be just a straight up foot. It can just be like regular, but then your feet are kind of like to the
Dangling
side.
like thalidomites, like
A
little lobsters.
Yeah. Just have them casually there.
Hail chat, my Tiggers. My Tiggers.
Yeah, we got fellow Tiggers in the chat.
Tigger with a hot R.
You know, they're annoying. We all know they're annoying, but we got to deal with them.
I'm 17% Tigger.
Why is it that 17% of the Tiggers are responsible for most of the... Anyway. We had fun. Monique, you're the absolute best. Everyone follow Monique on Twitter at Radio Gunk and radiogunk.com. I hope you come back sometime.
I would love to. I would love to. Maybe you'll come visit me one day.
Yes, I like Florida.
Yeah, and then I can grill you and we can do a live show.
Okay, cool. Thanks everybody in the chat, and we will see